With us now from Phoenix is our Arizona Senator John McCain. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
There has been, in the long history of this country, much debate about what the Supreme Court does. Is what the president is saying appropriate?
Well, as usual, he's backing off some from his initial rather remarkable statement. Anybody who, a cursory reading of the Constitution of the United States clearly indicates that there's a balance of powers envisioned by our founding fathers, and one of those important responsibilities is the reign that the Supreme Court places on the legislative branch, which has worked pretty well. So for him to think somehow that it's not within the court's purview to overturn what most of us knew from the beginning was an unconstitutional act by forcing the American people to accept a product and describe what's in the product and fine them if they don't, then clearly the president, a, quote, teacher of constitutional law, doesn't have the same fundamental understanding that most of us do.
But the Supreme Court has a right to rule on the constitutionality of federal law.
They've been doing it
since Marbury versus Madison.
And some, yeah, absolutely. In fact, I thought that their decision on Citizens United, that's the campaign finance law, was terrible, outrageous. I'm still outraged, but I certainly never challenged their right to do it.
Well, on that, you and the president agreed.
Yeah, that's right. But we agreed in that I agreed that it was a bad decision, but certainly we should. I never questioned that they didn't have the right to do that. Apparently, the president doesn't read the Constitution the way some of us do.
This campaign has begun. It looks like Romney is a nominee. You've endorsed him. Does Mitt Romney have to redefine himself now? Is there a window of opportunity to define himself against the charges that he's out of touch, and that by endorsing the Ryan budget, it is a prescription for American decline?
Well, I think that now that it's clear that he's the nominee, that most American voters will be looking at Mitt Romney from that viewpoint. They've watched this really rather disastrous campaign, which has really raised the unfavorables of all of our Republican candidates rather dramatically. So, but they'll be looking at him and give him, I think, another opportunity. I also hope that Rick Santorum would understand that it's time for a graceful exit. But I think that the American people will be looking at him. And speaking of out of touch, I can't imagine the president belaboring Mitt Romney for supporting a budget at least we voted on. There has been no budget in the United States Senate in well over 1,000 days, which is required by law.
Let me go to your description of disastrous raises an interesting question, whether some conservatives are right in fearing that the nominee will not be as conservative as they would like for him to be, and that he will, quote, in a sense, etch-a-sketch his own campaign.
Well, that was said by an aide. It was an unfortunate comment, and obviously it was pounced upon. That's the world we live in. I'm far more concerned about the President of the United States telling a corrupt dictator who was just elected in a terribly corrupt election in a corrupt country that is not our friend, that he's going to be, quote, flexible on one of the fundamentals of our national security since Ronald Reagan, and that's missile defense. The president owes the American people an explanation as to what does he mean by flexible.
Yeah, this is a conversation he had that was overheard by an open mic with Medvedev.
Who said he would pass it on to Vladimir.
Yes.
There's been some talk about the choice of a vice president for the eventual nominee and what that choice should entail. Sarah Palin has said that she thinks the nominee, if it is in fact Mitt Romney, should, quote, go rogue. What's your advice?
I think it should be Sarah Palin.
Do you really? Have you endorsed Sarah Palin?
Have you talked to her about that?
No, I haven't.
And would you characterize her as a rogue?
No, I think that we have some very qualified candidates. Obviously, Marco Rubio is in the top tier. Chris Christie. There are a number of candidates we have out there. Bobby Jindal, Mitch Daniels. We have a wealth of talent out there, and I'm sure that Mitt will make the right choice. Obviously, it's a tough decision.
Your former running mate is on the Today Show this week, and you said that if you live long enough, anything can happen. Does that mean that if you live long enough, we might find you here one morning as a co-host, getting up at 4:30 to work with us here?
Are you offering him your chair, Charlie?
Senator? Well, I got up at 2:45 this morning
to do
here
the
in
show.
Arizona time to be with you.
That's when I get up every day. It's perfect.
It's a wonderful. It certainly cuts down on expenses in the evening, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Senator
does.
John McCain from his home state of Arizona. Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me on.